여러분 안녕하십니까. 미주중앙일보 최인성입니다. 룩킹포맘은 70년대부터 90년대까지 미국으로 입양 온 우리 한인 입양인들을 소개하고요, 한국의 친부모를, 친가족을 찾도록 돕는 그런 프로젝트입니다. 어린 나이에 가족을 잃고 또 다른 나라, 다른 문화에서 삶을 시작한 우리 한국인 입양아는 한국전쟁 이후 50년 한국전쟁 이후 무려 20만 명에 달한다고 합니다. 엄청난 숫자인데요. 룩킹포맘은 한인 입양인들의 부모 찾기, 엄마 찾기는 보호받아야 할 권리라고 믿고 오늘 또 카메라를 켰습니다. 72년에 미국에 온 김문자, 명자 자매는 행복한 가정에 입양돼 성장했습니다. 문학과 글쓰기를 좋아했던 자매는 어른이 돼서도 자신들의 어린 시절을 기억하고 모두 책으로 출간합니다. 책에서 이들은 백인 가정에 입양된 쌍둥이 한인 소녀들의 일상과 경험을 적게 되는데요. 학교에서 또 사회에서 겪어야 했던 인종차별과 그에 따른 정서적 영향도 섬세하게 묘사하고 있습니다. 이들이 말하고자 하는 것은 무엇일까요? 오늘 이들의 꿈도 같이 들어봅니다. 시애틀에 거주하고 있는 쌍둥이 자매 자넷, 제니 씨 두 분을 초대합니다. 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요.
네, 목소리도 똑같아요, 그렇죠?
Because we're twins.
Is that right?
Yeah.
How's the weather like in Seattle now?
It's beautiful.
Is it?
Really nice.
Okay.
Yes.
I know you guys. I know you two ladies. It's been almost like 7 or 8 months. We've been studying, contacting, exchanging emails and everything. But please introduce yourself to our viewers, who you are, please.
Okay, I'm Jeanette or Moonja Kim, and I am adopted. So we actually are adopted together. This is my twin. I'm Janine Myungja, and we were adopted in 1972. We grew up in probably a pretty typical all-American home. That's one of the reasons why I named the book Americanized 72, because our family was pretty typical, but also they were semi-atypical as well. But we grew up in a pretty normal community, and we have families now. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, good to hear that. Good to hear that. Before we move on, we want to find out, or as far as we know, what happened back in 1972 when you were decided to be adopted internationally and when you arrived here. Tell us about the circumstance and the things that you know about this period according to the documents you probably have.
Well, we don't really know much because we weren't given much. I mean, usually the documents are given to the adoptive parents, and then at that time, you don't know anything until, for us, it was age 25 when our adoptive mother died. So, you know, the only thing you know is that supposedly you were found. You were, you come from this horrible country. I mean, that's basically what they tell you. They tell you that your Korean culture, they don't want you, are a curse, particularly twin girls, so you're given all sorts of what I would call myths or lies about your culture. From the American side, so you don't have a balanced perspective of what really happened. Yeah, what truthfully happened, and so and you're not allowed to know. You're not allowed to go to Korea and actually find out, and you're given this impression that you are an orphan. So it's not even in your consciousness to go back to Korea to, look for a birth family when supposedly a birth family does not exist. So that's kind of the dynamics on the Western side of adoption. On the Eastern side, who knows? Unless you research and you look at history through books. There's not much on what the Koreans perceive of adoption, when you're studying. So you probably know more about that than we do.
I see. So that's why you claimed in your book that somebody must have been taking advantage of it, or at least doing the wrong play there, right?
Yeah, I mean, once I started digging and then I saw that, there were misconceptions, there's misinterpretations, there's an itinerary from, say, the adoption agencies or whoever pioneered this child welfare system. So you learn more as you're older. When you're a child, you don't know anything. All you know is that you've been, your American family is your real family, and you're given this role to play where you're supposed to be the appreciative orphan who is thankful for being saved from a secular country that doesn't know anything about Jesus.
I see. Well, at least whoever has been adopted internationally, they at least, if they're from Korea, at least they have a family register set up and also agreement between the institution and agency in Korea. You don't have those documents. So let's try this. Who named you with that Korean name, and where does the last name Kim come from, as far as you know?
That's a good question. Like, we don't know. I mean, we're assuming that it was the adoption agency. So I don't think it was supposedly if our Korean mother had abandoned us, then, possibly she could have named us prior, but I don't even know if that abandonment story is true, because there's so many adoptees that are going back to Korea and finding out that they weren't abandoned, that they actually have Korean family that's been searching for them and waiting for their return. So, we're given a lot of false information, and we don't have proof of whatever that information was given to us, if there's any, truth to it.
I see. Now we're going to talk about your adoptive family here. I have these pictures you sent me. Is this right after you arrived here, or looks like a...
I mean, that might have been when we were about how old?
Year?
9 months, a year or something. So we were 6 months old when we were adopted.
I see. Now I understand you have two older brothers, and they're birth brothers from your parents, right?
Actually, one is
Their birth child.
One is the birth child, and then one was adopted.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, and he's a late discovery adoptee. He didn't find out he was adopted until he was 32 years old, when our adoptive mother passed away, and our parents were divorced.
I read some of the stories that you shared in your book, Mike and David. It was kind of brother-sister story, but have you had a good relationship with them? I hope.
Yeah, I mean, every family has disagreements. Every family has agreements.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
and
yeah.
So, I would say it was a pretty typical American family.
I can relate to that. Looks like a 2 or 3 or even 4.
Yeah, are we angels there?
Church ceremony or something.
Probably 2.5, or no, 3.
Or
I'm
somebody
thinking
else's
3.5.
Somebody's wedding
Yeah.
ceremony, I believe, huh?
We were used in the church a lot.
Which one is a Munja or Myeongja? This one Myeongja, right?
Who knows? We don't know. You probably could tell more than we can.
I'm good at that though. Does she look like your mom, I believe?
It's a relative.
We don't
Oh, is
know
it?
who that is. We
Okay.
just know that
Okay.
she's someone in the family, possibly.
Couple more, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our mom is there, though. That's our mom.
That's our mom.
Is it? Okay.
And that's our mom. She passed away in 97. when we were 25 years old.
Wow. She looks beautiful.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Dad?
That's our
And
dad
that's our
and our
dad.
2 brothers.
Yeah, you probably know, or my sister probably told you, our adoptive father passed away just recently.
Right. Sorry to hear that. The last hang glider, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Now, back to our conversation. It's been many years. I know you've been interested in this adoption, your adoption story, and also somebody else's adoption statistics, history, agencies, and everywhere. Why yours been kind of delayed or actively pursued yet? Was there like obstacles around?
The reason why it's delayed, I think, is because when you grow up and, a child in an adoptive family, then you kind of fill a role as an American. And that's what you're supposed to be. If you're not an American, then you get discriminated against. So you have to be as American as possible. And that means partially rejecting your family. But on the other side of that, too, is that you don't even know that you have a Korean family. The only thing you know is that you have an American family who loves you, even though you come from Korea. I mean, that's basically the attitude. So then when you reach your 20s, then it's like you're surviving. You're trying to go to school, you're trying to get a degree, you're trying to raise kids, and that goes on until you're in your 30s and then your 40s, and then time goes by and you realize that by the time you're in your 40s that a lot of that opportunity and missed say good luck of finding your family has passed. And so that's part of the reason why there's been a delay. I mean, fortunately, my sister and I were exposed to Asian adult adoptees of Washington State. So we were able to find out in time that there was a 50-year anniversary gathering to Seoul where about 500 intercountry adoptees or international adoptees from Korea traveled back to Seoul to celebrate and contemplate inter-country adoption. But if we had not known about that, we probably would still be living in the dark, not realizing that there could be an opportunity to go to Korea and to realize that there is a Korean culture that would possibly welcome us. So we're fed, so many messages, but it's all imbalanced. It's all on the Western side, and you don't get any information from the Eastern side.
I see. Now, Janine, we know that you published many books. We saw them online. I just, downloaded some of your books from Amazon, and I do know there are some Korean adoptees out there who read your book and telling me the feedback. Now, what made you write that book? I love that book. And what was the feedback you got from your friends around the other Korean adoptees? Tell us about your book. The American,
Well, I have
Americanized
two
72.
genres of books. I would say the first one I go by my American name, and that's so the focus on those books such as Americanized and The Search for Mother Missing and some of my philosophy books.
Right.
Those I first wrote Americanized, and it was supposed to be kind of a tribute to my adoptive father for, his hang gliding fall and his ability to survive it and thrive even after living as a disabled person. But when I was researching that book and writing that book, my writing group teacher had asked me a lot of questions about my adoptive mom, like what's up with your adoptive mom, what kind of relationship did you have with her. And there was a bunch of questions that I didn't really want to answer, or I didn't think were really necessary. But So the book kind of evolved into something that was supposed to be about my dad to something that ended up being more about me. And then for The Search for Mother Missing, that book came about because, of the opportunity in Korea to go visit and possibly find our Korean family. So I wanted to document that experience so I would always remember it. And then the philosophy books are just, fun books that represent what I believe and, that sort of thing. And then after I got back from Korea, I started researching intercountry adoption from Korea. And then I kind of, maybe there was some sort of transformation there when I was learning the truth. And that's why a lot of those books are, I use my Korean name.
I see. Interesting. In the books, it's just a personal, my own curiosity. In the book, you remember that you were in a locker room somewhere with the cheerleading girls, and I know you got the question saying, "What are you?" We don't really ask people, "What are you?" or "What is he?" Now, it's been what, 10 years? 30 years almost, right? Now, if you go back in that locker room again, and somebody asks you, "What are you?" what's your answer be?
I would say I'm Korean.
So it's not Korean American, or I'm American.
Well, I'm a Korean American. I'm proud to be Korean. I'm proud to be Korean, but also American at the same time. Both cultures have their positives and negatives.
I see.
But I'm just proud to be who I am, which is a survivor of adoption.
You're not gonna pro for a fight, right?
A fight? I'm ready to fight. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it. Now you mentioned these words in another book. I specifically remember you mentioned the harvesting, and also you mentioned the trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, briefly tell us what have we been missing? What should we know by mentioning you mentioning these words in your book? Tell us.
I think what you should know is that there's two sides of adoption. Well, there's many angles of adoption, and so far the only angle that's been heard has been the angle that, say, the adoption agencies have presented to us, which is a perspective that has an itinerary, that's profitable, that gets paid for whatever storyline they want to tell. And then there's they say that adoption creates families and things like that, but at the same time, they are also separating families and permanently separating families. So we need to give these families a chance to be heard and a chance to be represented. And so that's what I'm hoping to do, is just to give a balanced perspective so then people don't get duped into something that's lifelong and can be devastating.
I see. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm going to dig more out of your book and do research and help others out with that information for sure. We have another supporting video. I've known this girl for almost 10 years. And guess what? She was adopted and she has a twin. Are you ready to watch this?
Yes.
It's very interesting. Let's hit it.
Hi, my name is Nora Hexter. I'm a 27-year-old Korean adoptee currently living in Los Angeles, California. A little bit about my backstory as a Korean adoptee. I was adopted at 4 months old with my twin sister Lillian, and we grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. Looking back, I'm so grateful that I had my sister growing up. I know it's a very rare experience for adoptees to grow up with biological siblings, And as an identical twin, you know, not only were we biologically related, but we looked like each other. So I literally had a face who mirrored my own. And I think a lot of ways I found so much comfort and belonging with my sister. And of course, we were best friends growing up, and we're still best friends. And it's just an experience that I'm so grateful for. During college, we also started our birth family search. It's something that I had thought about a lot during my life. I think I'd always felt a strong sense of being a Korean adoptee, but also having a lot of questions. My sister didn't have as many questions, I think, growing up, but it was something I thought about a lot. I thought about my birth family. I read books about adoptees, and I felt connected to those characters and stories. So it was just something that maybe I didn't talk about a lot, but it was a huge part of who I saw myself as. So I guess going into the birth family search, my sister and I both had a lot of questions. I think ultimately we just wanted to learn more about where we came from. So we searched through our adoption agency, which was also Holt, and we were really lucky that the search was pretty quick, and they were able to make contact with our birth mother within a few months. We were really surprised, shocked really, when we received the email from Holt. And then following that contact, we sent our letters to our birth mother, and also received letters and pictures from her, as well as our younger sister. And it was so incredible to find out that there are actually 3 of us. So I think within the whole process, finding a sibling was maybe one of the most exciting parts. Yeah, so when we got to Korea, we were able to meet our birth family in person. Such an incredible experience. Our birth mom and dad were so welcoming, so accepting, and really excited to meet us, just as excited as we were to meet them. And I was so happy to have the opportunity to meet my second sister. This is my message for Janine. Janine, I know that you are searching for your birth family right now. I am wishing you all the best in that search and that process. As a fellow Korean adoptee who went through that myself a few years ago, I know that there are so many different feelings and questions that come up when you are searching. Just know that you are not alone. There's a whole community of Korean adoptees who are rooting for you and who are wishing you the best. And no matter what you are looking for, whether it's answers, a picture, just information about your parents, siblings, in-person meetup, I hope that whatever you're looking for, that you are able to find at least a piece of it. And no matter the outcome, again, like I said, there are so many adoptees here in the US who are here for you, who understand what you're going through. And I hope that if you ever need anything, that you reach out to someone, even if it's just to talk. And yeah, I look forward to hearing more about your search. I hope it goes well. And yes, I'm wishing you the best of luck.
There was the Nora Hexter from Los Angeles, California, originally
Wow.
from Boston, Massachusetts. You got to say something. What do you think?
Wow, I'm amazed. She's beautiful for one thing. It's like, wow. And thank you so much for the well wishes and the support. It's so appreciated. I can't ask for anything more than that. And I'm so happy that she had a successful reunion and she found what she was looking for. I hope that it's long lasting and forever. Yeah, I would love to reach out to her and just learn more about her story, because I think it's pretty amazing.
I know, isn't it? I don't have any, stats or data, but Nora's case is very rare, don't you think?
Yeah, it seems like
I
it.
know. Now imagine your birth families or even birth mom from Korea is watching this video, you guys talking. What do you want to tell her? Well, do you have anything to say to her, or your dad?
I mean, I would probably say that, you know, we do have a lot of love to give. I don't want her to feel shame or embarrassed or anything. If she's around, if she's still alive, to feel free to email.
I see.
And I think we would have a lot of fun together. We do have a group. It's called Adoption, Truth, and Transparency Worldwide Network. She can join, even though she probably doesn't, maybe she doesn't speak English. But I mean, we would totally welcome her with open arms. We could have a totally awesome relationship. The potential is there, all the possibilities there. We don't have any resentments or any anger. We have anger maybe towards the industry because we know it's profitable. But people, I mean, family, that's what matters most. And we would love to have a relationship with our Korean family.
I see. Now, it's 2021 July, and it'll be August pretty soon, right? Now, what's your next step? Do you have any plans? Do you have any plan to visit the 23andMe or Ancestry.com or the local consulate?
We did do.
You did? Okay. What's your next step?
Yeah, which one did we do?
You don't even remember.
Like my sister did one, and then I did one. But I can't remember which one.
Any line of calls or emails from anybody?
Not yet.
I mean,
we're counting on you.
Yeah, it's all up to you.
Okay. Now, Janine, you talked about a lot of wrong plays and also the taking advantage of this adoption, even, you know, trafficking children internationally. Do you have any plan for that? I mean, who's got to do what, when, how? What's your plan?
I think that mostly what needs to be done is a balance in information that's being disseminated in the East and the West about what adoption means, because at the moment it's very imbalanced. It's really the adoptive agency narrative that's going on, and you don't hear about the families that have actually been separated. So I'd like to see more of a equal voice out there, and that's why I am a big fan of adoptees who share their stories. And, you know, anybody who wants to share their story, I appreciate that they have the courage to do so. That's why, one of the reasons why I publish books, help people write their books. I edit, I format books, because I like the idea of having the people that aren't normally given the voice to have the voice, and to be given the platform to be able to share their story, because those are the stories that aren't heard, but they're the most important stories. And so that's the most important thing. It's just for people to be receptive to the unpopular stories. And so that's what I would say is, you know, I mean, obviously my sister and I need all the help we can get to get those stories out there. So then everybody knows that there's many sides to adoption, not just the narrative that, you know, adoption is a win-win-win for all, but there are also stories of people that feel devastated, they feel discriminated against, they feel like they've been exploited, they feel that they've been taken advantage of, they feel used, and those are the stories that are most important.
I see. we hope for the best, and we'll obviously keep our fingers crossed for you guys and for your whole family up there in Seattle.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you
you.
for your time.
감사합니다, Brian.
아. 자, 시간을 내준 우리 제닌, 자넷 두 자녀분께 다시 한번 감사드립니다. 이렇게 생각을 해보면요, 입양은 단순히 부모가 필요한 아이들이 새로운 가정에 찾아가 안착하는 것, 이것뿐이 아닌 그 이상의 이야기를 분명히 갖고 있는 것 같습니다. 물론 아이에 대한 사랑을 기반으로 입양이라는 인도적인 행동이 이루어지고 있긴 합니다만, 때로는 정의롭지 못한 손길도 있는 것이 분명해 보입니다. 하지만 아이들은 어른이 되고요, 이 모든 것에 대한 책임을 물을 수 없게 된다는 것이 슬픈 부분입니다. 자, 이것 역시 한국의 입양기관과 단체, 아이를 포기한 부모들이 한 번쯤 깊게 생각해야 될 부분이라고 보는데, 여러분들은 어떻게 생각하십니까? 룩킹포맘은 아시다시피 영상 광고 수익을 내지 않습니다. 입양인들이 이 영상을 통해서 부모들을 다시 만나게 되는 것이 바로 저희들의 참 수익입니다. 룩킹포맘은 경동나비의 미국 법인이 후원해 주셨습니다. 다시 한번 감사합니다. 여기까지 최인성이었습니다. 다음 인터뷰에서 여러분 다시 만나겠습니다. 고맙습니다.
여보, 아버님 댁에 보일러 놔드려야 되겠어요 라는 카피로 굉장히 유명한 회사입니다. 본사 쪽에서는 보일러 위주로 사업을 하고 있고요. 그 다음에 미국에서는 2006년도에 진입을 해서 현재 15년 동안 여기서 사업을 하고 있습니다. 현재 판매되고 있는 제품은 콘덴싱 온수기 그리고 콘덴싱 보일러 위주로 사업을 진행을 하고 있습니다. 소비자가 원하는 시간에 바로 온수를 공급할 수 있는 친환경 제품입니다. 저희 경영 이념 자체가 기업을 통한 사회 공헌입니다. 그런 측면에서도 기업도 사회가 갖고 있는 고민, 그 다음에 사회와 같이 이제 상생할 수 있는 그런 측면들을 좀 고민을 해야 된다고 생각합니다. 룩킹포맘 힘내세요. 용기를 가지십시오. 모든 사람들이 다 응원하겠습니다. 기적이 바로 앞에 있을지도 모릅니다. 모든 사람들이 다 같이 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.